happened overnight. So we're going to also look at Asia replays as well. I guess I should have said both. And then we're going to take a live look into Brazil, see how things are going for them. I need 2 casters on deck. Let's get Pookie Face. Let's get Sundown. Let's get into these games.
Thank you so much, Zeke. I'm joined here by the amazing Pookie Face, who has a great talent at ignoring high fives.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow, she literally looked right at the camera and then right at me. But as Zeke just said, Oceania and Asia wrapped up last night. I stayed up and watched some of the games. I know most people didn't, but they were incredible. The last spots were there, and let's hop in, give these guys a little coverage, and celebrate just how awesome at Fortnite they are. Now, a fun fact about both these guys, 7 matches played total. That was all they ended up running through. So they were able to get the maximum amount of points through each one of them, not needing all 10. And as we talked about with the Breakaway Esports duo of Serpent and Hype, averaging a placement of 2.67 across those 7 games. That is ridiculous.
You just talk through here so you're not wasting my battery on my phone.
Do you know what other teams are sitting at in terms of averages like that?
I mean, you really don't typically will see placements like that in a game run. Like an overall, like
if you see a guy named Punk, and it's like some like Tom or something like that, that's the guy that I'm friends with.
We've seen is the Twins.
It's a streamer.
They were playing more placement based and less aggro. I think they had one.
He's playing in the World Cup.
But sub 3 is that's really good.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty incredible, like you said. And we see Hype just get the elimination on Pendragon, LOL there, just utilizing his edits there to quickly peek out, make sure that he's not leaving himself too exposed. Take a look at his partner, Serpent, who is his own agenda of what he's doing over here. Looks like he's doing the same thing, but on the opposite side. So these guys just applying pressure all over the map.
Yeah, and one thing to note, it is a much sparser circle when you're in those very late games in terms of Oceania. Some players opting to play aggro, trying to get their games out there, will just go full send and try and burn through a couple towards the end to get into another one. But if you have good game management or the ability to just play consistently and ride it out, you can play this game all the way to conclusion and maybe snag what might be a slightly easier victory route for you if you're playing passive and defensive, which Serpent and Hype seem to have been doing so here with, I want to say, only 6 elims, but in comparison to the rest of the lobby, it's not a ton. It's good.
No, for sure. And to your point, kind of what you said about knowing, where your opponents are. Keep in mind that there's only 12 players left on this map right now, and only 7 duos remain. Make that 11 and 6. I spoke way too soon. Serpent secures another elimination there on Bray.
Black.
But in terms of final circles, this is not something that we see very often.
No, it's just black for me.
No, and it makes for interesting play because people can be more calculated, but normally you don't get as much room to operate. So now all of a sudden, Zank being in this 1-by-1 by himself, if certain Hype want to go pinch him, they absolutely will.
There you go.
They know this is a 2v1. They know there's no one else here, but Zank is now trying to get whatever opportunity he can to free up shots, knowing that the next elim that goes down is the top 5, and every single point matters, even if not for qualification, and then for the prize money, with the prize pool being doubled in weeks 9 and 10.
Yeah, and Zank making that quick decision to just use the launch pad, kind of get out of there. He saw that there were players rushing at him, decided to go up, get the high ground, which does end up working out for him because he lays down a 35 and a 71 shot on opponents down below. Breaks a baller, which is going to be bad news for that player. He isn't going to have that additional protection anymore. But he is just trying to fire shots, methodically go through and see if he can actually get any kind of knocks or eliminations here to get that siphon, because he doesn't actually have any kind of healing, and he does take out Jimmy, so that is certainly going to help him for any kind of future eliminations or any kind of engagements here.
Yeah, and it got him into the top 5, and he ended up going down as well. So just getting the tags on the end of the storm as rotation does go up the mountain. The vertical being the difference.
I'm so confused.
Elimination does go over. That was the
Zank is dead. There's no way he's surviving.
Goes through. He edits down, has nothing to catch himself, but luckily he's on the edge of it. But Hype is relentless on the high ground, and now they're going to start working the top down. When we started on board when they had 4 elims, now worked it all the way up to 8. There is 9 and 10, and they're looking to close this match out, and this is where every point goes down. Well done from Hype and Serpent.
She messed up the edit.
Well done from them indeed. Now, unfortunate to see Slayo go down. I know that he is a favorite from a lot of people, but you know what? Second place, not too bad, Sundown.
No, it was a good effort, but like you said, once kind of those two get rolling, when they have the momentum, they are able to just run with it. We've seen it before in the semifinals, and when they finally converted it over, sometimes that's all it takes. If you're able to put the pieces together on the right day in the finals, that's what ends up mattering. Now we're on board here with Surf Junkie and Evanix.
And take a look at their loadout they have right now. 2 Rift to Goes, 2 Shadow Bombs. I'd be interested to see if they've split the Shadow Bombs. Duos will typically do that. You know, give 2 and 2 so each partner has some kind of mobility in their inventory. They do only take up 1 slot, and you can carry a whole bunch of them. So we've seen time and time again players utilizing those to make rotations, make sure they're safe heading into the next zone, and they are going to actually opt to rift out there so that they can make that early rotation. They did have quite a long way to go, but they are going to look to see if they can possibly sneak on some high ground here.
Yeah, the thing is there, well, it seems like it is a little bit of an early rift. If you look in the bottom right-hand corner, majority of the players were in their path in order to get to the rotation. So when you have 2 rifts and 2 extra Shadow Bombs as well as a ton of the shields, you can afford to be a little more aggro there, and they're actually able to now get priority on the zone and pick up an Elam as well. But can they get the mats and then disengage out with whatever upgrades they so desire?
Again, Surf Junkie taking a lot of damage there, so he is going to have to really focus on getting healed up before they, you know, make the next rotation or before they take another engagement, because you certainly do not want your duo's partner going down or falling to anyone at this stage of the game. That certainly can spell disaster. But we are going to take a look here at Serpent and Hype. We saw a little bit of their gameplay in the last game. They look as though they're playing very, very well together today, and you know, let's just see what they can pull out right now.
Yeah, so these were actually, so the last game we watched was their second to last game, and this was their final game of the evening. So that's kind of why it ended up being such a thinner lobby. It was a lot of the players trying to get through and use the last of the games, but Serpent and Hype saying, that's fine, we'll play it for a victory royale. And right now, inside the first placement threshold, already on 7 Elams for this match. So that's 10 points so far coming out from this game. That's what we talk about when we say maximizing efficiency in every single one of your lobbies. If you're making it into the final placement threshold, getting a couple of those victory royales and getting Elams as well, no, it makes it very difficult for everyone else in the lobby to even keep pace with you.
You still watching it?
Yeah, and you know, that we've seen time and time again has worked out for so many players, you know, really just being very aggressive.
Serpent and Hype must be the best players there.
Always bode well. He does get the knockdown on oh my gosh, Surf Junkie.
Oh my
Bro,
god.
this man just took out 2 more people.
Just fall to him completely, no chance.
I know.
We've seen them.
And they had 10 Elams before altogether. They have 12 kills now.
No, they have 9
to go and 2 extra Shadow Bombs. So now
far
the
for
tables
me.
have turned. So now he has got all of the mobility he needs.
They just have so much control over this lobby now with the high ground. They can see nobody else is even remotely close to it. There's the far side.
Oh yeah, they have it. Yeah, they have 9. You're right. I've got the points and the kills mixed up.
But there was a Shadow Bomb directly in the box behind
They've
it. I don't know
got
if
10
Alpha
points.
realized that. Gets high ground taken
Or
away from
12
the second.
points.
Boxed in, no traps coming out. Does finally put one down. And
Oh,
Kaiser
that's
can't
a
avoid
fat
the
rip.
damage there.
He's
15
dead.
health on it.
Yeah,
He's
he's
throw the
not-
chug splash at his feet or get the edit out.
Yeah,
One of the two
yeah,
has
he's
to happen
dead.
very shortly.
No,
15
wow.
HP was able to get
Use
back
this
up to
chug
the high ground.
splash.
Is going to opt to just pop the minis and then go for the chug splashes.
Yeah, I mean, at that
Yeah,
point, it wouldn't have really mattered too much what he chose to do, because you are only getting 20 HP effectively from those chug splashes for each one that you throw down. He did wait for his partner to join him, though, because there is that area of effect with the chug splashes. You get 20 health, your teammate gets 20 health, so not everybody gets 20 health.
Well, that's tend to be why you see it more run in duos, but also just love
Oh
having
my
shields all
God.
over the place. But now Serpent Hype
Right.
going aggro,
Oh,
and we've
get
seen
in
it
zone,
putting
get
the
in zone,
dual
get in
combos
Serpent.
to work, focusing on that with
I've
the loadout
ripped,
and making
honestly.
sure they're shooting together. But right now,
I'd say
Serpent
ripped.
has been chipped out a little bit. However, they're into the top
Trying to
10
get height.
in terms of the team. So 5 placement points been picked up so far, and look at that. Prince Charming gets taken down. No fairy tale ending for you there. It's just back to
Nice.
the lobby, and considering
That
this is the last
laser,
match,
bro.
that's the end of your World Cup run, as Serpent and Hype able to clean that up. There's another one going over, up to 12 in all the resources from it, and they
Oh
saw
my
that
God.
Look at him
Holy
just
crap!
What is happening? Sundown. He was just, you know what? I think at that point he was just trying to do whatever he could to stay alive. Unfortunately, Hype and Serpent met him there, but Serpent does actually go down, and he is going to fall to the storm. It is going to be completely up to Hype now to carry the rest of this game. Each of them having 7 eliminations, sitting at 125 points. Do you think he's going to be able to pull out the victory royale? We're going to have to find out.
Now, They are on this 14 Elims, has the proximity launcher. That's 70.
That play, though. That play, bro.
Is on 40, drops down to Icy's.
This guy's insane. Look at him.
Siphon comes over
Holy
too.
crap, this man's insane.
Thank you.
3-2 now out of materials. It's a 2v2.
Mark is live, by the way.
Needs to pick up this
Huh?
Storm, isn't his
Yeah, it's from Fortnite. Look.
with metal. Edit goes forward. Uncle Andy, say good night.
Bro, come on, get this Elam. Why?
Right there, gets a good 80 plus.
Oh, he has no
and
mats.
we find
He has
another
no
one
mats.
as
He's
trying
dead.
to do all of the
He's
work
dead if
by
he doesn't
himself
get
right now.
Elam.
Serpent's been taken down.
No,
He's
hype.
getting some help from the high ground. 73 with the first shot,
Oh,
getting
this
walled
man's
out.
dead.
Needs to find a way back in the zone, and he does. Lupius goes on 1, 2. Can he find the third? Needs to get the conversion over, and he does. Lupius
No!
goes down. It's a
Did he die?
2v1.
Yeah,
Can he find it?
No, that man was.
Starbucks
I bet
cleans
he,
it up,
he
but
had it coming.
Wow.
So
place
close.
and 15 plus elims coming out from that good effort from Lunar and Barbucks, but Hype and Serpent showing why they got that top spot.
Holy
It was
crap,
really
that
well
game was
played.
fire. Especially from
Unbelievable.
them.
The
Yeah, it was.
decision making
Hype
and
Yeah.
mechanically how
dirty.
gifted you have to be able to drop down, waterfall down, pull out your shotgun, and catch yourself so quick. Cat-like reflexes. Too bad Kitty Plays isn't here to comment on those.
And making sure that it was the player he had ticked twice with that proximity grenade, while it only being 70 damage, it's basically guaranteed if the player
It's
is
458, by the
boxing
way.
themselves up. But now we're gonna hop on over to the Asia region while we see what was up with the Trigger QQ boys of the Vietnamese
Remember,
region,
she's calling
or
my
the
mom.
Vietnam country, playing on the Asia
Yeah.
region. Apologies there.
Let me
guys.
remind
Report
him.
here with
Remind
Ricky
her.
and Joyce. Some good shots coming out
Yeah.
from that tactical assault rifle so far. 12 duos remaining, 23 players left as we're in the half in, half out.
Yeah, and we are seeing a
text
little bit
her
of a trend
something.
here so far with these games, Sundown. You know, not very many players left alive, but I think it's a great change of pace, and you can really see how the players adapt their play style.
What do you mean?
To kind of, you know, counteract the fact that there aren't going to be very
Not
many people in the
really.
lobby. Ricky just taking down Seal completely as he was trying to rotate and use the launch pad to get out of there. So good on him with that elimination. That will be his first one of the game. His partner, Jazia, is sitting on 2. They are going to use the stinks to actually try to pressure this player above them, see if they can get him to come down. But he just gets out of there and says, you know what? That one stunk. I'm not interested.
Yeah, Cushy having no reason to do that. And you also noticed that Joyce threw the stink directly on top of Ricky while he was pressuring. No friendly fire going on there. As you can see, Hooten and Peach on the low ground. But there's the qualifiers, Flame and Unique over on the side. And one thing I went through and ended up reviewing a lot of their matches, they had some hairy situations early, but pretty much every single early game, they got completely uncontested Dusty Divot and walked out with just max everything. Like, it was nuts and just getting a ton of rotation, but right here you can see right now, sitting on 2 elims, have a decent amount of loot, good amount of mats, and prime area on the zone. So convert that into one onto Theo, getting a good knock with the help of the Storm, up to 66 points as we're inside that placement threshold, number 2, top 10 ticking over.
And I feel like Dusty Divot is actually one of those points of interest where you can drop and get a ton of resources, all the trees being there. You know, some would argue that, you know, you're at a bit of a disadvantage because you are essentially, you know, not to pun, but you are in a divot. But you know what? If you can use those trees for cover, that whole area completely uncontested and for yourselves, you are going to come out of there sitting pretty. So we are taking a look here. They are rotating
Ultima.
see how he builds up here. If he tries to take high ground, or it looks like he might actually be making a play for that.
Yeah, he was looking to find it over on the side, but instead just opted to box himself up, realizes he has the RPG and wants to start sending everyone cascading down, but opts not to fire it. So interesting decision there. I actually thought he would have sent it down. Instead turns towards the player underneath him, and him and Ricky are going to try and isolate that player in order to convert it into an elim. Now he's going to look skyward. I figure he would want to reset that before they got too established. Nope. Instead, he's going to say, my high ground now. Perfectly timed launch pad to get it right at that maximum deploy height. And now, all of a sudden, Joyza and Ricky on the high ground with a whole bunch of resources.
And 12 rockets in their RPG. We've seen this time and time again. Explosives are extremely strong, but they are even stronger when they are raining down on players from ultimate high ground. These players do not have to worry at all about anything that is happening above or below them. They need to be looking up at Jazia and his teammate because they are actually going to go on a little bit of a tear here. Let's see if they can get any more eliminations. They've already picked up one, but you can see him. Jazia's ready. He's got that RPG out, Sundown.
He has it out. He's trying to make sure it's loaded. Stinks continue going up. That looks like it's his teammates since he's just walking through that. Does hit top 5 now. Ricky has taken a solid amount of damage, but continues tossing down Stinks towards the low ground, but he hasn't found anything with it. So far, they've only converted this into one, and Ricky actually got knocked flame all of a sudden. Flame and Unique picked up 2 there, and they're into the top 3 with a 2v1v1. Joyce on the high ground. Dorothy isolated in front of them. They're going to try and pinch. RPG comes down, but Joyce commits himself, falling down after the RPG, taking 80+ damage. So now rifts himself up to the sky, but this is going to give Flame and Unique all of the pace, all of the pressure. Dorothy gets pushed down. Unique does get chipped out, so he needs to be careful. Joyce, recognizing this, knows he needs to go now before it's isolated, but there's the maximum deploy height. Might as well just be hanging out, clips his head, finally touches his feet, and gets blasted for it. Flame and Unique, we hopped on board with them. They had 2 elims. They converted into a 7 elim victory royale for 17 points, Spooky.
Very well done coming out of those 2. And Jazia made a little bit of a mistake there. He did miss that floor that was built out, but unfortunately for him, he didn't have much of a choice. He didn't have any mats left, so he had to rift. That was literally his only play. Fortunately, it didn't work out, but let's hop right into another game from the Asian servers. We are looking at the Trigger Boys again. They're sitting at 9 eliminations already this game. So, you know,
Did you remind her? Lance. Hello?
Very impressive to watch, and there's honestly a couple of situations in the early and mid game where it disengages. So
Lance.
accessible in terms of going over, and it's something that, like, hey, I can do this, because I know there's sometimes when I watch VODs of like Benji Fishy or Clicks or Dubs, and it's like, well, I'm never gonna try that ever, so
never say never. Believe in yourself.
Some of these kids, some of the guys going to the Fortnite World Cup final are infinitely better than I can.
Lance.
Some mechanical stuff that hasn't been seen before, but that is not the only way to be successful in this game. There's plenty of paths in Fortnite Battle Royale to get there and to get to the top.
Yeah, I mean, you can be mechanically amazing. You know, you can have smart rotations. That's what I love about the Battle Royale genre as a whole. There's just so many different working parts, and I feel as though, you know, there are some duos that do some things really great and others that do other things even better. So that's why it's always so exciting to me to be spectating duos and being able to be here and casting these games, just so that you can see how these duos work together, how they play to their strengths. They are going to be taking, that one gets me every time. I had to quickly look down into the inventory there to make sure he had the redeploy. I was like, what are you doing, Unique, please?
I still get a little bit of vertigo anytime. Even if I know they have it, it's just like, I'm desperately afraid of heights. But we're into the top 10 now as Unique and Flame. Now you can see high utility. Again, 2-gun loadout, but using as much of the utility. Nice. RRQ hero Kappa just gets ripped. 4 shot out from under him, and they catch him before he even hits the ground. Up to 91 points so far from Unique, and just so well done.
Yeah, and you can see there, just, you know, they started shooting at the wall and then both immediately switched down to the floor. Smart plays coming out of them as always. Here we have Met. I'm going to take a stab at that name. I know that, thank goodness it's me casting here and not Zeke because...
he would have panicked and
Yeah.
probably fell out of his chair. But
Yeah,
now,
that...
Met taking shots from the high ground, looking down here, trying to find what he can. Gets GCBM, GGK with a perfectly placed rocket, and now he's going to look to punish that backside of the storm. That was the conversion over to the knock he'd already gotten, so nothing else to do in there. As Harukio trying to put shots out towards the rest of the lobby, they find Buddha Fishy. So Benji Fishy transcending regions now, all the way over in Asia. People trying to get that luck, but not going to be enough because the SV duo currently running up on the high ground onto 7 elims, looking for number 8 with that rocket. Got to be careful when you edit. However, Harakiro goes down.
Yeah, he just completely dropped down there, possibly to make it easier for his partner to possibly get him. But you know, it isn't going to matter because the zone is moving, so he is going to completely fall. Here we have the Trigger boys. Actually, my apologies. It's only Unique still alive in this match. He has used a Shadow Bomb to position himself perfectly for the next rotation. Is building up, kind of taking mid-ground at this point. There are only 7 players. Make that 6 left in this lobby, 5 duos. So this is almost a solo game at this point.
Yeah, and now he got the other duo knocked, so it is a straight-up solo game if he can convert on that. Flame going down. Conversion does go through, and he finds Kosa as well. So now, straight up solos. 9 elims on Unique. It's a 1v1, and this was for all the money. Unique wanted it to be enough. He was sitting there. This was their second to last game. They needed to clutch out. They needed every single point possible, and will he be able to find it? We're watching the left side of the screen right now as Unique disengages down towards the bottom. Matt up on the high ground again as he's trying to run him around and find an angle. One thing note, only has 6 mats and only has the redeploy, which is a top-down mechanic, so he wants to sneak a shot on him. He knows he has to save mats. Hello!
He jumped the rocket!
What? What? That's ridiculous!
He jumped the rocket!
It went up onto the low ground, just being a tile of a square away. Gets the first shot with the combat. Now he has the pressure. He finds the zone. He has to go forward, though, because here's the change in elevation. He finds the first shot. Can he find the second? And he does! He finds it!
Trigger!
He left. Gets the siphon to tick over. Unique puts it on his back. 24 points, 14 eliminations, and the victory royale. Look at the fossil. Look at the plays. The Vietnamese.
Bro, that man's insane. Insane.
Style, we'll do it with execution and we'll do it with coordination, but now we're hopping over back into live games. This isn't stuff from last night or early this morning, depending on where you live. This is from Brazil. We're going all the way down to South America, and now on board with Nothing, No Name, and Clipnode. Clipnode, who actually grabbed the final solo qualification spot last week.
Yeah, congratulations to him. We saw him absolutely playing out of his mind. He 100% deserves that because Clipnode is somebody who, when we first started this whole journey with World Cup, I really wasn't sure who he was, but we've seen him time and time again be extremely consistent, just with utilizing, you know, all of the things that he's learned so far. To see him qualify last week, sneak that in, but now he's here with Nothing, No Name, and they are certainly trying to make names for themselves today. Clipnode using that launch pad to rotate over. Tons of players left in this lobby, so things might get a little bit dicey for him. This terrain is going to be extremely difficult for these players to navigate. We see these 2 massive mountains in the middle here. The amount of high ground and materials they're going to need to come into play to make these rotations easy for everyone is going to be something to witness for sure.
I hate endgames over here.
I love them.
I don't do particularly well in those circumstances. Oh, hello! Great edits coming out from Clipnode. Gets the heavy snipe on the box across. Catches the hot potato grenade midway through. Hello, there's another one. Can he get over in the box? Great re-edit as well. If he didn't close it, would have taken damage there. But this is what a World Cup qualifier looks like. The individual plays to get away from that. And man, the guy with the grenade launcher on the low ground is just pinging them into those windows.
He's not missing a shot at all. I don't know if I would ever say that term with a grenade launcher. You're not missing shots, but you know, he was absolutely nailing those. Now, like you said, you don't like being over here, but this is what it's all about to me. Anybody can, not anybody, but it's much easier to be on very flat terrain, tunnel through. This is what I love to see. This brings out the actual skill sets of these players. It shows us, you know, how mechanically gifted they are, how much they've practiced, how much time they've put into doing scrims and doing arenas and just showing us why they're here, why they're trying to qualify, and hopefully get those spots to New York.
Yeah, and you do see that Storm Surge is on the right-hand side. What Storm Surge is if a certain number of players are alive and the lobby gets a little too active, the people who have been the most passive will be punished. But because we're down below 30 players, it's turned off and will no longer be active. We've now hit top 15 and we're into those first round of placement points. Now remember, top 15 is 3 points. If you're able to get in the top 10, it nets you an additional 2 for 5. Top 5 gets you 2 more, and then the Victory Royale is 3 for a total of 10. And generally, if you're qualifying for the World Cup, you're looking for a 50-50 split. You need high placements and you need high eliminations. The balanced approach is what gets you there. As you can see right now, Clip noted nothing, no name. 11 eliminations so far, in closing in on top 10.
And they get rifted up into the sky there. That definitely was not Clip Nodes. I don't believe it was Nothing No Means either. That would have been a completely other player trying to get out of a little bit of a sticky situation there by using the rift. You can see No Name landing on the high ground, utilizing that community launch pad to pull himself back over to his teammate because they did get separated for a short moment there. Clip Node has actually used the launch pad as well, or was still up in the air, but it isn't going to matter. He goes down. Unfortunately, lands in the box of another player. Mist is missed, takes him out.
Right, but Nothing No Name was directly underneath it and edited him down in between. He's gonna try and stick this revive, and he does. He got it. Can they edit back over? They got the next box. He's on sub 30 HP, and he gets back in. He has 10 HP. Will they be able to find anything? Player behind. Flipnote goes back down. Can he find it? No. Gets picked up, but they got the top 10. So 12 elim points plus the 5 going through. 17-point performance from Clipnote and Nothing No Name, but they're not going to be a factor in the rest of the lobby. You have Solinho and Seko on the low ground. Matakuski and Ernie just above them with Falls and Ducky 1 tarp above. Solinho does have 1 more chug splash and could use it potentially, but wants to hold off. Waiting for top 5 for the next threshold as W Key Edit picks up Obi, and we get closer and closer. Lua gets ticked over, and now we have 7 duos remaining. Solinho just taking a little bit of a breather, swapping up on their mats while all the action happens above him. Esteban picks up Ducky, and we close in on the top 5. Trap arms and goes off above, but no eliminations. Ticks over as the Soccer Skins continue to look. Poised Playmaker wants to make a play, but they also want top 5. Constantly checking their sides, realizing they're okay right now, and I mean, man, they're running low on mats.
They are running low on mats. They do own all of this, so hopefully, you know, they're going to be able to utilize that to their advantage. Edit down just like that. He takes out Expert. You know, that is the advantage of having all of those builds to yourself. You can sitting on very little HP, about 50 effective HP to his name right now, and they have to play low ground right now because they don't have a choice.
It's a 2v2. You have MST and his partner Esteban in the top right, Seko in the bottom right with Solinho. Everything else on the Y. Solinho looking for the angle. Player drops out into the side. This MAST going for it, but Seko gets the first knock. The flint knock is off into the sky. The fall damage below. Can he catch himself and get back into the zone? Will it be enough? Solinho's tracking him in. No, it's not enough. Solinho picks up the double, throws a nice little pumpernickel, and then into the iconic, or break it down, let him know. Throw a hootenanny in there as well, and a great finish. And also, Pookie, I gotta give you a shout out right there. The way you called just the edit down and the fact how he was looking for it and then it happened immediately after. I just, in my head, I'm like, man, they're burning so many of their builds. Like, this seems like a waste, but just spot on with that right there. So hats off to you. Nice little clap. Well done.
Thank you. Don't let my ego get too big, son, now. Know how much I love seeing those heavy snipe shots. They're my absolute favorite. This is what I have come here to see today. Give me the snipe shots all day, Cam.
Oh, it's both the best and the worst feeling. Like, yes, it feels great when you get it, but at the same time, when you're just rotating around, you're hanging out in your box, and you feel like, hey, maybe I got my 1 layer, I can peek on a side, then all of a sudden, boom, boom. Or like you're jumping all the way around your 360, you're checking your side, and you just get your face ripped off, and, you know.
A few shots there, having them pay off. Still sitting on high ground though with the heavy sniper. Come on, King, give us another snipe shot, dude. But you see him here just looking for any kind of players that were trying to come out of the zone there and get to safety. He's not going to let it happen. He's saying, you know what? I'm king of the high ground here. I'm going to gatekeep you all day.
Yes, he's going to look towards the outside there, not going to acknowledge the pun. It was a pretty good one, I'll give you that. As Lucky Boy and Luco Boy over on the side here, 7 elims as we're closing in on the first placement threshold. And honestly, shout outs to Brazil. They've stepped their level up every single week. Some of their qualification barriers actually ending up being higher than NA West in some of those circumstances in the duo week. So just a really high level of competition, and just the fact that it's pushed up every single week. You can see Storm Surge coming through there, and Lottie getting a great shot with the combat there. And that's what we talked about, kind of the difference of the timer, being able to just throw the combat out there, get the wall shot in, and then immediately swap back over it. So now he's going to try to go aggressive because he wants to convert on that.
And you can hear all of the shadow bombs going off behind. He's going to have to be very careful. He isn't built behind him, so there could possibly be players sneaking in behind. But he is going to continue to try to edit forward. Picks up another elimination on Nis and Greg. They both fall to him there.
Yeah, and that was the double, is them trying to stick the revive. And at that point, man, you just got to let your teammate go.
Yeah.
Let him, you hang him out, you let your buddy and be like, hey, you know what, it's been a good run, but I'm going to go try and get those placement points. They fell outside of the top 15, so it's huge because you waste, I don't want to say waste all the time because you get whatever elim points, but not getting at least the 3 placement points from top 15, it hurts. It hurts the mental game, it hurts your score, it hurts your efficiency in terms of getting the points, as now we're on board with Barboisa. Lee, Golden Boy's favorite, as him and Zodi Boy are trying to make a run at it, currently sitting on 5, make it 6 elims and 33 points and a great loadout.
Yeah, and he just completely obliterated Les there. So Lee takes out Les. That's a good one. That's an interesting one for later. But he does throw the stink bomb down. Now, we've seen time and time again those being extremely strong. And Zate just get completely annihilated. Lee now opting to utilize the shadow bomb. Says hello to the baller to his right-hand side, ladies and gentlemen. But then uses the small amount of high ground down there to maybe get any kind of eliminations on people coming into the zone.
Yeah, so if you sneak up on a baller near the outside of the zone and you're in like a late game storm, pickaxe it once and then immediately shoot it out. It'll send them flying out into the zone and you'll get elim credit. Boom, there you go, there's the strat.
Wow, look at these mad strats coming out of Sundown today.
Check Creo's VODs, he does it all the time, and it's hysterical because it's one of the consistently easy ways to get elims on players who don't react, because if they don't instantly throw down the grapple and boost forward, they're gone, because the momentum persists as soon as the ball breaks, so it'll send them flying out into the zone. It's great.
You know, where have you been for the last 2 years when I've been trying to improve my Fortnite game? I need you to coach me here.
I mean, you can watch the broadcasts and stuff. I drop hints and knowledge like this. It's called the Sundown Rundown or Sit Down with Sundown, whichever one you want. Maybe someday I'll get the leeway to do my super serious serial Sunday with Sundown, but I gotta
that is a lot of alliteration there.
Oh, trust me, it's Fortnite. It's all alliterative. But we're getting closer now to that top 5. 11 elims so far from King and X-Own. X-Own saying, I will not lose. I want to be on that stage with my buddy King, and King being one of those young prodigies out of the SA region, along with Nix, doing everything they can from this low ground. How well can they execute and get around the side? Lottie Boy picks up Gozer there and continues his run forward, knowing it'll be ticked over, but King trades him right back, just inside, or just outside the top 5. You can see him wall off the player and want to stick with the zone as it's running out. 10 players remaining, 6 duos left right now as they look for the space. Gozer does finally tick over, but Lottie had been eliminated, and Clement didn't 90 fast enough there. Couldn't cover himself. 13th elim. King has 11 of them as him and X-Zone are working down the tarp, but Barboisa is trying to do everything he can as he frags himself into the top 5, picking up a double. You have Bravo in your top right and King in the bottom right as he gets another one onto Tade. They're the only duo left in the bottom right. Barboisa gets France. Will he tick over? No, Bravo takes it up, and we have a 2v1 with double campfires on the low ground. Heavy snipers as well. Knock Bravo down. This is one of the top duos. This is a team to keep an eye on. King and X-Zone, 43 points with the victory royale. 25 from that match, Pookie.
Yeah, coming out with 15 eliminations between the two of them. Now, The placement and getting the eliminations are so
Did she
important
call
in
you?
these games to make sure that you are hitting top of the leaderboard every single week, and we just saw a perfect example of it coming out from those guys right there. Congratulations to them. We can see here for the Brazil games, we only have about 40 minutes remaining, so these games are going to be some of the last ones for these guys, depending on how long they are able to survive. Each match going approximately 20 minutes, so you need to plan your time accordingly and make sure that you are getting the most out of these games, because time and time again we've seen it come down to just a few points, so every point matters.
I mean, we've seen it very frequently coming down to less than a few points. Like we've gone, I think we've gone 2 tiebreakers deep at some point. I think the most we've had to gone is 3 once. I might have to double check that. I know Creo went 2 deep on his when he ended up advancing. But one thing I do want to talk about is kind of the mentality about playing for late. It's something that you've heard all the time in the Fortnite community, but a lot of people don't really understand. Like, there's a big proponent around the idea of W keying or playing aggressive, and taking early aggressive fights when you can gun race and you know you have an advantage. For instance, if you pick up a combat early, or if you pick up a legendary AR at range, or even a green AR before somebody is able to get set and really get a ton of mats, you can pressure somebody and you can go full send and you can go aggro and you can create an advantage for yourself. But in the general run of the game, taking an even fight against players who are roughly as skilled as you or even slightly less, they're going to be able to chip you out. And most players are going to be able to at least delay you or make it worth the time unless you're significantly better than you, right? So then if you end up being able to be a little more passive, playing a little safer, working around the outside, being more deliberate in how you rotate and get to places, this is called playing for late. Because then you get in these circumstances where you have all the mats, you have the resources, and you're in a more chaotic environment, but you're not knocked out way before taking a 50-50 fight, and all of a sudden we've seen the number of times you win 1 key engagement on the low ground or 1 key engagement on the mid ground, and all of a sudden you take high ground away, or 1 turns into 3 or 4. But you don't get those opportunities if you don't make it to late game.
Exactly. I could not have said that better myself. You know, the thing is too, is early game, you never know what the other player is going to have that you're going up against. You know, you might feel that you're sitting pretty and you've got a great loader. You're like, you know what, I got there with an RPG. You haven't shielded up. You're back to the lobby, Sundown. So, you know.